7:35 morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV, your radio and online.
Now, we've had some lovely GB views coming in, lots of them on all sorts of subjects, but this one, particularly gorgeous. Hello, Stephen and Anne. We're watching you from Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. Again, for those of you listening on the radio, that's just the most brilliant nighttime view of a city from very high up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like something you'd see in a movie. We love your show, they say. We stay up through the night to watch it. But they're not just sending us good wishes. They're getting stuck in on the politics as well. Both Boris and Starmer need to resign. People sacrificed a lot during COVID, and they were clearly taking any opportunity to have fun. That's from Daniel and Martha.
Oh, thanks for watching us from Chicago. Brilliant. Actually, one more comment here from Steve, because we were talking about house prices and how you just can't get onto the property ladder at the moment, or can you? Morning, Alan Stevens, says Steve, you will own nothing and be happy. House ownership in the future will not be on our radar. Only a select few will own all property. Most of us will be on universal benefit. We can then be moved from property to property as the size of our family ebbs and flows. So by the time we are old, frail and on our own, we'll be moved out of the family home to be put in a one-bed flat. That's a future worth looking at, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. That's how I feel though sometimes about it. It really is.
Karina's had a good idea though. She says, I think we need a new rule that if you can prove you can pay rent for 2 years, then you should be allowed 100% mortgage. Since renting is generally more expensive and it's very hard to save a deposit.
Interesting idea.
I mean, maybe something like that could be brought in.
Keith says, Russell Quirk, he was the property expert we were talking to. Russell Quirk says a deposit for an average price house is £14,000 based on a house price of 286.
It's 5%.
Yeah. House prices where I and my son live are 700 grand plus. So his figures are nonsense for anyone living in the southeast. When you say average house prices, you are taking into account the whole country.
Yeah, so. I know. It's some of the prices are absolutely crackers. Anyway, right, let's go through the papers. Political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall are both here. Good to see you this morning. Kevin, let's have a look at The Guardian, should we? Where they're focusing on the tremendous success of Guardian readers, the Lib Dems.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other big story of the night. It wasn't just about the Tories losing hundreds of seats, it was the Lib Dems doing incredibly well. And it does seem as though they've served their time in the political wilderness. They were very toxic after the coalition years. Nick Clegg is now going to make millions of pounds in America at Facebook, and Ed Davey seems to be doing pretty well as Lib Dem leader there, and not just in the south, which is we mentioned earlier, where a lot of Conservative MPs will be very worried at the progress that the Lib Dems are making in places like Somerset. They also took control of Hull City Council, which is obviously a traditionally Labour area. So nice picture of Ed Davey there with his dog looking very happy, and he's got every right to be. I think they're now seen as, a safe protest vote in a way that they weren't before.
It is a protest vote though, isn't it, Claire, in all of this? Because, I mean, the Lib Dems have just been off the... I know they're very good at local campaigning, got a reputation, but on the national front, they've just disappeared. I mean, when have we heard from Ed Davey?
And I think that's the problem, is that on a local level they're very good, they can do these micro campaigns and that's great, but on the national scale, what policies do they have? You know, what is their policy? Healthcare going forward? What is their policy on things like immigration or the Treasury's matters, you know, with the economy? No one really knows, and they hide away from that, and they just sort of point the finger from one side of the chamber at the Prime Minister without actually revealing what it is they believe in. They're very good at standing up and saying, you know, we are the holier than thou type of party, but when you drill down, they don't particularly stand for anything. I suspect I shall now get hate mail from Lib Dems from all over the country for that, but it's slightly the same position with the Greens. Very good local campaigns, and people see that as a very nice protest vote, not going to translate onto the national stage, and is certainly not going to impact Westminster.
But when they did transfer it to national power under Nick Clegg, they blamed him for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there was the tuition fees. That was the one decision that they never were able to shake off.
I've never understood why they blamed Nick Clegg for not being able to deliver something in coalition that he promised if he had an all-out victory. In coalition, you have to do deals.
Well, yeah, but obviously the Lib Dems had always, because they hadn't been in power, they were able to promise the earth to people, and then when they actually got into power, they had to actually make difficult decisions. They were signed up to the austerity programme as well, so they got all the opprobrium that the Conservatives got, and as I say, it's taken a long time for them to shake that off. But now, I guess, was that 7 years since they left office? The tuition fees thing was, I think, towards the beginning, as far as I can remember, of the coalition years. You're looking at that's a decade ago.
Yeah.
Young voters now coming through, it means nothing to them, so they've been able to move on, and now they're coming back again, and they could well be in a position come the next general election of again being in a position of maybe being able to support Labour.
Another coalition. That got down well.
An informal.
There'll be some sort of informal pact going on.
Rather than a formal coalition.
Yeah.
Because that had their fingers burnt the last time.
Not at all. And they'll all deny that it's happening.
Yes.
There are 2 by-elections due to come up, and I think you'll see the pact coming out there with Wakefield and the seat down in Tiverton and Honiton. There's going to be a certain amount of Labour, you can go deal with Wakefield, we'll deal with the South.
Yes.
Thanks very much. Which is just going to anger so many people that they never make themselves popular.
No.
And I think they did take a lot of flack during the coalition years, but they also sold out according to their own party, which is why their members left and why they went down so far in the numbers with MPs. They've, raised their game and got back, but I don't think it's sustainable for them in the future.
Now, look, when I was at school, packed lunch all the way. Always had a packed lunch.
Me too. School dinners were so disgusting, that's why.
The Times saying that packed lunches are not as good as they should be.
This story angers me. It comes around time after time with schools saying we're not going to be lunchbox police. However, they're being lunchbox police.
Okay.
And I went through this with my own son at primary school. He wouldn't eat the school dinners. I paid for the school dinners, he wouldn't eat them. The school called me and said he's not eating them. Please send him with a packed lunch. I sent him with a packed lunch and he would eat it. And you look at this and it's like you're not allowed jam sandwiches.
Why not?
I think that's a staple of childhood, to be perfectly truthful. And if it's not the only thing you're not having it all day, every day, then I don't understand the problem.
Yeah.
They talk about ham, processed meats, that's bad. Marmite, not good.
What's wrong with Marmite?
High in salt.
It is high in salt, but as part of a balanced diet,
Yes.
then you should be able to have it. And I think this sets children up for some really bad eating habits going forward. If you say you can't have crisps, you can't have bread, you can't have, jam. Well, how is that building into what is a healthy lifestyle and what are sensible choices to have? And I think, we've seen eating disorders being on the rise throughout the pandemic, where people's habits have changed and there's no support. And I think starting that off with children in primary school is just wrong.
Yeah.
Healthy diet, exercise, don't get hung up on it. So every time this comes up, it just makes me angry with the Obesity Forum.
Or a jam sandwich.
Jam and cheese.
Really fancy one now.
Cheese.
Oh yeah.
Cheese and Marmite.
Yeah.
Oh, cheese and Marmite, very good. Yeah, any of that.
One of my sons.
And a club biscuit.
Oh, a club biscuit,
That's what we
yes.
used to get if we had a good day. Get a club.
Yeah.
Or one of those wafery biscuits. Oh yeah, they were nice. Packed lunches were a joy, weren't they? Because they were usually your favourite things, and you looked forward to them.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's right,
Okay, Kevin, let's go to the Ukraine war, and this is very interesting because the German president, is he a president or chancellor? That's
Chancellor,
right.
yeah.
Chancellor has been told he must visit Kiev to prove his loyalty.
Yeah, so the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said, with the May the 9th holiday coming up, is going to be hugely significant because that's the day when we expect Vladimir Putin to declare victory or make it officially a war and announce his intentions of going even further. Zelensky has said that Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, should take the opportunity to come to Ukraine. Now, Germany's involvement in this conflict has been a little bit up in the air because obviously they've had relatively close relationships with Moscow, largely because of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project, which they had signed up to, and in Ukraine anyway, they're perceived as not having been full square behind Ukraine in the way that, for instance, the UK has been in terms of sanctions and providing military aid. So Zelensky has thrown this back on them, saying, right, well, here's your opportunity. Come to Kiev.
Put him on the spot, isn't it?
Absolutely, and show that you're with us. And it'll be interesting to see how Germany responds, because he also, in the same speech, praises Britain again, saying if everyone in the world, or at least the vast majority, were steadfast and courageous leaders as Britain, the war would already be over and we'd be at peace and we'd have freedom in Ukraine. So, you know, no pressure.
No pressure at all.
So we'll see how he responds.
Oh, it's interesting. We are out of time, I'm afraid, Kevin and Claire. And Claire. But we'll see you in an hour.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
So thank you very much indeed. Can't do the rest of the show in a German accent.
No, I really wouldn't. No.
It's a bit Basil faulty, that one, couldn't it?
Big mistake, I think, yeah.
Yeah.